Hi again, everyone. Gary Digital Williams here on Boxing Along the Beltway. Our news and notes for this week, and we have a lot to cover this week. We're going to preview the Saturday, May 21st card that'll be at the ABC Sports Complex in Springfield, Virginia, and that's the card you'll hear live right here on the Boxing Along the Beltway Google app for Android and on Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio.com, and I'm going to have some comments for YouTube in just a moment. We hope to hear it there as well. The show starts at 7 p.m. We'll get underway about 6:55 p.m. on Saturday, May 21st for the Left Hook Promotions card. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. We'll also update the schedule for this week. Not a whole lot in town, but we got a lot going on outside the area coming up in the end of May, going into the first part of June. And I'll have some final thoughts about the weekend, this past weekend, the Friday and Saturday, May 13th and 14th cards at both the D.C. Armory and the Maryland State Fairgrounds in Timonium. So that's what we'll cover in this podcast this week. Now, on Saturday, May 21st, we'll make our first, will be 3 trips to the ABC Sports Complex in the next 4 weeks or so. Saturday, May 21st, this will be a Left Hook Promotions card. That's Scott Farmer, the Masters Mauler, and he will have his son, Andrew Newman Farmer, making his return. Almost a 2-year absence for Andrew Farmer. Last time Farmer fought was in October of 2014 when he got stopped by Danny O'Connor in the 4th round in Plymouth, Massachusetts. That was the nationally televised bout. And he hasn't fought since then, but Andrew Farmer, 18-3, 7 KOs, will take on Joseph Trouble Figueroa out of the Bronx, New York. That'll be about scheduled for 8 rounds. Figueroa is 11-58-5, 3 KOs, and he'll make his second straight visit to the ABC Sports Complex. Remember, the last time we were there was on April 9th, and that was a Jetta Promotions card, and Figueroa lost a 4-round unanimous decision to Steve Weimer. Now, Weimer was coming back after a couple-year absence of his own, so could be interesting to see. There will be a height difference, as Farmer is a lot taller than Joseph Figueroa. Figueroa is very short. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. It'll be a good work for Farmer, getting back into the swing of things. Figueroa doesn't have a whole lot of power. He says he only has 3 knockouts, but he'll be durable. No question about that. So be interesting to see what Andrew Farmer does with Joseph Figueroa. That's our main event for that card. The card also marks the return of a guy that I used to love watching in the early days of Boxing Along the Beltway. He used to fight a lot in the mid-2000s out of Front Royal, Virginia. His name, Terry T. Brick Roy. And Roy is a cruiserweight making his return after almost 4 years. Actually, he's a 4-year absence. He fought in Winchester, Virginia in February 2012, won a 4-round stoppage over Benito Fernandez. Fernandez got injured in that fight. Roy is 8-2-2, 7 KOs, and he'll take on Earl the Bull Platt out of Virginia Beach, Virginia, and this will be for the vacant Virginia State Cruiserweight title. Platt is 4-2, 3 KOs. He last fought in May of 2014, and he lost a 4-round unanimous decision to Lamont Capers. That's a name you'll hear a lot in this podcast, by the way. Lamont Capers in Dover, Delaware. That's the last time Earl Platt fought. So Terry T. Big Roy was a lot of fun early on, knocking guys out early. He lost the bout to Adam Seal, who's a boxer out of Winchester, Virginia, a few years ago, and kind of was sporadic since then. He stopped in 2009, took a few years off, came back in 2012, took more time off after that fight, and now he's back again. So Terry T. Big Roy takes on Earl the Bull Platt of Virginia Beach, Virginia. Once again, it's for the Virginia State Cruiserweight title. And I believe it's scheduled for either 6 or 8 rounds. I don't think this is a 10-round bout. We'll find out. Guy making his pro debut. I have not seen this guy, so I'm looking forward to seeing him as well as Matthew Boogeyman Bowling. He's out of Fort Valley, Virginia. He'll be in a 4-round contest. No word yet on his opponent. He is 1-0, 1 KO, actually. He's not making his debut, but he'll be in his debut in the Beltway area. And he made his pro debut on March 12th, actually, and scored a first-round TKO over Dwayne Lee. A couple guys will be making their pro debut. Strasburg, Virginia, Dominic Lubrano. He'll take on the equally debuting James Smith in that card. And also a Baltimore middleweight named Donald Wallace will be on the card. He'll make his pro debut. No word yet on his opponent. So that is Saturday, May 21st at the ABC Sports Complex in Springfield, Virginia. There'll be Left Hook Promotions card. That'll start at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be on the air 6:55 Eastern Time live from the ABC Sports Complex. Now, as I said, this will be the first of 3 visits to ABC by 3 different promoters, by the way. Left Hook doing this card on May 21st. June 4th, we return with a Jetta Promotions card there. And then we're right back there again, June 11th, both on Saturday. Saturday, June 4th, Saturday, June 11th. Saturday, June 11th will be a Ponytail Promotions card. And the main event is scheduled to be an International Boxing Association Bantamweight Championship. I believe it's a sort of a regional Bantamweight title. And that bout will feature Alexandru Marin, the Spartan, out of Maryland. So we'll see what he does in that bout, and we'll give you more updates on those 2 cards, June 4th and June 11th, a little bit later on. Meanwhile, outside the area, a lot going on. Of course, this past Tuesday night, Danny Kelly was on FS1, and he lost a 6-round unanimous decision to undefeated Stephen Shaw out of St. Louis, Missouri. Kelly just couldn't get going. I mean, he started slowly. He's done that off and on the last few bouts he's had. And by the time he got really going, it was way too late. Actually, on 2 judges' scorecards, he never really did get going. And because both those judges scored the bout by shutout, 60-54. The 3rd judge scored it 59-55 for Stephen Shaw. Shaw still is undefeated. He's 7-0, 5 KOs. And Danny Kelly, he falls to 9-3 and 2 draws and 8 KOs. So tough break for smooth Danny Kelly out of Washington, D.C. Now, coming up on the schedule, Friday, May 27th, at the Claridge Hotel and Casino in Lansing, New Jersey, Slick Nick Kisner will be on the card. He'll take on Lamont, two smooth capers out of Hawley, Pennsylvania, in an 8-round contest. Now, originally, Kisner was supposed to fight Anthony Caputo Smith, who has been knocked out, I think, in the first round in his last 2 bouts, including his last bout against Travis Reeves, knocked him out in the first round. So I guess they thought he may not have been ready for this one. So he'll take on Lamont Smooth Capers, who also fought Travis Reeves as well. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But Kisner will be in the card, 8-round contest. Kisner is 16-2-1 with 6 KOs. He's won 2 straight since his May 2015 nationally televised 10-round unanimous decision loss to Latif Coyote. That was in Memphis, Tennessee. But again, I look at Kisner's choice of opponents. I know he's stepping back trying to get things going, and he really has not fought anybody. He's fought tough guys, but you got to wonder now where Kisner is going in this situation. Kisner, last bout was a 6-round unanimous decision against Daniel Show. You heard that bout from Springfield, Virginia on April the 9th. Capers is winless in his last 4 bouts. He's 0-2-2 in his last 4 bouts. His overall record is 5-8-2. And Capers lost a 6-round unanimous decision to Josh Himes on April 23rd in New Cumberland, West Virginia. Now, Capers is 0-4 against Beltway boxers going into this bout. Capers lost 2 6-round unanimous decisions to Travis Reeves. But I tell you, those 2 bouts, I think Reeves has learned a lot from those bouts, because Capers made Reeves look very awkward in those bouts. He had a real tough time really getting going. I mean, he was dominating as far as situation because Capers really wasn't giving any offense back, but it was tough catching him during the course of those bouts. So Capers is durable. He doesn't get knocked out a lot, but again, the key is looking good against him. And I think Reeves looked better against Capers the second time. First time he didn't look good. It was a terrible fight all the way around. And also, Capers has lost 4-round unanimous decisions to Shaborn Riles and Mario Murphy, both Beltway boxers as well. Nick Kisner is going to have an open public workout coming up on Saturday, May 21st. That'll be at the Ivy League MMA building located at 1517 Ritchie Highway in Arnold, Maryland. The workout begins at noon. If you want to come up there for that one, go ahead. Once again, that's Saturday, May 21st at noon at Ivy League MMA, 1517 Ritchie Highway in Arnold, Maryland. Also in that card, by the way, is Willis the Prophet Lockett out of Tacoma Park, Maryland. He's 14-16-5 KOs, taking on Chuck the Professor Macchio Masaccio out of, I believe he's out of New Jersey. He's 18-3-2 with 5 KOs. That's about scheduled for 6 rounds. Now, Lockett's last opponent prior to this bout was against Jordan Schimmel, who fought just this past week, Tuesday night, on the same card as Danny Kelly's fighting out in Carlton, Minnesota. And Schimmel was blasted in the first round. Just an ugly knockout there. One of the best knockouts of 2016. I mean, we've had some great ones around boxing world. Of course, everybody's talking about the one Canelo laid on Amir Khan, but you got to include Thomas Top Dog Williams' knockout in his last bout against Edwin Rodriguez. And now this one, George Murat, I believe his name is, knocked out Jordan Schimmel in the first round. Brutal knockout, no question about that. So Schimmel may not have been prepared well going the distance with Lockett on February 22nd here at the Washington Convention Center. So you got to wonder, and I'm going to talk more about that a little bit later on, because we have a guy we're talking about a little bit who has really prepared himself to get big bouts. We have two guys who are like that. So again, Willis Lockett's on that same card that Nick Kisner's on at the Claridge Hotel in Atlantic City, and that'll be on Friday, May 27th. Then we head into June. In June, we've got some guys getting some big-time exposure and some big-time bouts and on some pretty big cards as well. Saturday, June 4th. Saturday, June 4th, undefeated DC welterweight David Day Grayton will be on the card. A card in the Bell Center in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Grayton will face his biggest challenge to date. He'll take on undefeated boxer Bryant Goodfella Perella. He's out of Fort Myers, Florida. It'll be a 10-round co-feature contest that'll be shown on ESPN. And this will be the first 10-rounder for both boxers. So that should be very interesting. Grayton is 14-0, 10 KOs, coming off a second-round stoppage of Daniel Souza Santos. That was on January 31st in Immokalee, Florida. Perella is 13-0, 12 KOs. He last fought on January the 12th, scored a second-round stoppage of Ramon Ayala. Now, the two men, interestingly enough, have a common opponent, which is interesting, and they both came in the amateurs. Both competed against the 2012 Olympian Errol Spence in the amateurs. Now, Grayton defeated Spence in 2010 to win the National Golden Gloves title. Perella lost to Spence at the 2012 Olympic trials, and Spence went on to represent the U.S. in the Olympics that year. So that's interesting as well. That should be a good one. And again, it's the co-feature. It'll be on ESPN coming up on Saturday, June 4th from the Bell Center in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. June 11, we have two boxers competing during that day. One will be at the theater at Madison Square Garden on the Vasily Lomachenko card, and that is, of course, Waldorf, Maryland, super lightweight Mike Yes Indeed Reed. Reed is 18-0, 10 KOs. He'll take on Abraham Bombi Cordero out of Guadalajara, Mexico, who's 13-2-1 with 7 KOs. Now, we talk about building guys up, and again, there's no one way to do this, but my belief is that the goal is you want to get your last bout to prepare you for your next bout. And I think no one has done that better throughout his young pro career than Mike Reed. Mike Reed has fought. This will be coming up his 15th consecutive bout against a boxer with a 500 record or better. The last time Mike Reed fought a boxer under 500, you got to go all the way back to July of 2013 for that to happen. This will be his 19th bout coming up, and really, he's fought two guys made their pro debut. No, he's fought one guy make his pro debut, two guys with 500 records, and only two other guys with under 500 records. Everybody else has been 500 or better. And everybody else in this case has been better than 500. So it's an amazing situation that Mike has done. And he faced another tough guy in Abraham Cordero, 13-2-1, 7 KOs. His last fight was a 10-round draw, I believe it was. So we'll double check that. But that'll be at the theater at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Also on June 11th at the Valley Forge Casino and Resort in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, Mike the Professor Fox will be on that card, and that'll be June 11th. No word yet on his opponent on that card. Then on Saturday, June 25th, and this will be at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, on the undercard of Keith Thurman and Sean Porter, and that'll be Swift Jared Hurd out of Acton, Maryland, 17-0, 11 KOs. He'll take on Oscar Molina of Norwalk, California. He's 13-0-1 with 10 KOs. And actually, Molina, who had the draw on his last opponent, not Cordero, but Molina had the draw on his last time out. And this will be very interesting to see what happens here. Jared Hurd, this is actually the second opponent that was scheduled to face Hurd. The first guy did not take the bout. And that means that Hurd has made his presence known in the 154-pound division. And it's going to be interesting to see what he does in this bout against Oscar Molina. 13-0-1, 10 KOs. Really hasn't fought the competition that Hurd has fought, especially in the last few months. Of course, Hurd came up that huge win over Frank Galarza. So good test for Jared coming in. Of course, he just came off an injury, so he's back to full strength. That's good to see. And we'll see what happens June 25th from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. So that's the schedule at the moment. Of course, we still have the Golden Gloves going right now. Our guys at the DC region kind of going back and forth a little bit. A few guys made it past the first round, like Troy Isley and a few other the guys from North Carolina, but been tough for our guys so far. So we'll give you the full update throughout the week on the Box On Beltway Google app for Android, as well as Box On Beltway blog at blogspot.com. Also, Franchon Cruz, the light heavyweight out of Baltimore, the multi-time national champion out of Baltimore, Maryland. She's fighting in a tournament with the U.S. Elite Women's team, and she is in Kazakhstan right now, getting ready to compete in that tournament, and we'll give you the details on the blog as well. Now, let's talk about this past weekend. Friday, May 13th, Saturday, May 14th. Now, I'm going to go with the May 14th card first because, quite frankly, right now, that is the clubhouse leader for card of the year. And the reason why is because out of 9 bouts, I think it was 6 of them went the distance. First of all, very competitive bouts throughout the night. Right now, the clubhouse leader for bout of the year comes from that card, and that is the women's bout between Tyra Shea Douglas and Anahi Torres. If you have not heard that bout on the Box On Beltway Google app for Android, you need to do so, because it was an incredible bout from start to finish. Exceptional bout. Not only was it exceptional bout in the ring as far as the action was concerned. I tell you, I tell people that Tyra Shea Douglas is the female version of Mark Too Sharp Johnson. She's got the quickness. She's accurate. I mean, she's landing shots, landing straight shots, landing hooks, quickness, speed, hand speed, foot speed. She's got it all. I mean, she already has 4 knockouts, which is somewhat rare in the women's division. Because as her competition has gotten tougher, the knockouts have come few and far between. And she faced a tough one, Anahi Torres, who stood right there throughout most of that situation. In fact, really, both of them were pretty equal when it came to the body shots, because both were landing them. But the head shots were the key, I think, in the bout. That Tyra Shea Douglas just landed some great head shots, both with the jab and with the hooks. She's a southpaw like Mark Johnson was, and just she's just tremendous, no question about it. And the class they showed in the ring, and that was a good portion of the boxing was about class, especially in the featured bouts. There was a moment we talked about in the broadcast how they clashed heads, and for them to be as close as they were throughout the bout, for them not to clash heads more than they did. They only clashed heads twice. Once was in the early stages of the 7th round, and at the very end, at the bell, at the final round, the 8th round. Other than that, it was very interesting that they did not clash heads. But when they did, especially the first time, the bout, the 2 ladies stopped themselves. Douglas wiped sweat. I don't think there was blood there, but I think she was checking for blood, and gave Torres a huge hug during the point. I mean, it wasn't like they tapped gloves. They tapped gloves, but they also hugged. And you just don't see that. And it was just a refreshing change to see that. I mean, it was phenomenal. It really was. It was great to see. And it was a great bout. And again, it is right now, it is the clubhouse leader for Beltway Boxing Bout of the Year. And also, you want to talk about class, the two guys in the main event, Travis Reeves and Larry Pryor. Reeves won the bout, 8th round technical knockout over Hitman Pryor. And he won the vacant Maryland State Cruiserweight title. And again, Travis Reeves has really come a long way in a relatively short period of time. I mean, you look back at those bouts against Lamont Capers and how awkward he looked, and you weren't sure whether it was him or whether or not just Capers just make him look awkward. Well, he's learned a lot from that bout. And talking to his trainer, Brother Chin, out of the Honeycomb Boxing Gym, he was remarking how smart he is. And he really has fought smart in the last few months, in the last bouts. And he's won now 3 straight knockouts. He's got 9 straight wins. And he's one of the guys you got to take a little slowly, but he's good. And he's gotten better. That's the key. He's gotten better. And I've done a lot of interviews over the years. I mean, I've been doing this almost 33 years now. I'll be 33 years in June. And I've done a lot of interviews with a lot of great boxers. I got to be honest with you, folks. I have never had a classier interview than the one that we conducted, Juan Marshall and I conducted with both Reeves and Pryor. Now, originally it was supposed to be just with Reeves, okay? And I kind of hesitated, to be quite honest with you, to bring Pryor in because I didn't know what he'd say. But I brought him in because I've kind of known Larry. I don't know him all that well, but I've talked to him a couple of times. And the interview that Pryor took over the interview, but in the middle part, but again, he was so classy, and he was just so forthright in saying that he lost the bout. He got stopped, but he didn't complain about the stoppage. He didn't moan and complain, and he gave Reeves the credit, and wants to work with him more, and that. You can't ask for any more class than that. And Reeves gave the class right back to him. It was wonderful. It was just a great interview. And again, in 33 years of doing this, I'm dead serious when I say it was one of the best interviews in this boxing business that I've ever conducted. And I mean that sincerely. And, Juan and I had such an interesting feeling, just a great feeling about the interview once it was over. And it's good when you have that. And I did something I rarely do. I posted it on Facebook because I was so proud of it. I was proud of the interview. I really was. I was very proud of that interview, and proud of both Pryor and Reeves for that interview. So it was great. It was great. Other bouts on the card. Stephon the Surgeon Morris fought very well. 3rd round knockout over Brian Stevens. Just broke him down. I think he got a good one here. This kid's going to be good. I mean, I didn't see a lot of him in the amateurs, but very impressed thus far in the 2 bouts that I've seen of him as a pro. James Keep Sleeping Stevenson winning a 5th round TKO over Kevin the Scarecrow Womack. And Womack's just a lot of fun to watch. He really is. He's just a lot of fun, and he is, he's a good boxer. And let me get back to Morris for just a second. I'm sorry. I meant to say this, and I really should say this again, because the more I say this, the more I hope other boxers will follow the suit. The majority of that crowd at the Simonian Fairgrounds, which was another packed house by Shaw Style Promotions and Shabazz Brothers, came from the hands of Stephon the Surgeon Morris. And here's what I mean by that. Stephon Morris, for those who have not understood this, have not read this in my blog, I did write in the blog and wrote in the Fight News piece as well. Stephon Morris sold a grand total of $25,000 worth of tickets, not $2,500. And when the person who told me that said that, I said, "You mean 2,500, don't you?" He said, "No." He said $25,000 worth of tickets to that show. And you hate to see boxers having to do, but for these club shows, it's got to get done. It's just a fact of life, has been for decades. But in all the years I've been doing this, I've never heard of a boxer selling that big amount of tickets, dollar-wise, ever. And so that is amazing in and of itself. So that's a guy you have to have on your cards because, 1, he's good, and 2, he sells tickets. And when you have something like that, you don't want to let him go. Now, getting back to James Stevenson and Kevin Womack. Again, James Stevenson fought very well. It's a good fight, actually. And again, Kevin Womack, when he's on, is trouble for anybody in this business. James Stevenson handled it well. It was an accidental thumb to the eye that caused Womack's eye to blur, and Womack could not continue. But I think it was going to be a pretty close bout had it gone the distance. So it was a good bout there, no question about that. Chingiz Khan Tazabai, I know he had to be frustrated fighting a Met Karelty. Met Karelty out of Fairfax was very mobile, to say the very least. He was very quick, but couldn't hit anybody whatsoever. And Tazabai got his licks in, was able to win the bout 40-36 twice and 39-37. I don't know where they saw Karelty winning a bout, but winning a round, but be that as it may. Tazabai, I think, as Juan Marshall said very, very eloquently last weekend, Tazabai wants a lot too soon, I think. He wants a knockout every round. Every fight. He's not going to get it. Not because he can't. It's just that's boxing. He's going to face some guys who, number one, want to survive, and number two, are just plain durable. And that's just basically what it boils down to. So Tazabai remains undefeated. He's 4-0, 2 KOs. Speaking of durable, and I applaud Kobe Madison, the heavyweight out of Owings Mills, for doing this. You look up a definition of a durable boxer in the dictionary, you've got to find Lonnie Cornegay's picture there. We've talked about how many times Lonnie Cornegay has been knocked out, which is 0 as a heavyweight and once overall, and that was a Darnell Dingling Man Wilson. And again, I was a little skeptical about this bout only because Kobe Madison's last bout, his pro debut, lasted a grand total of 30 seconds. And he fought a guy who couldn't spell fight, as I've said before. You heard the bout on the Google app for Android. So a lot of people, and I was a little questions of it myself, wasn't sure whether or not he was ready for a guy like Cornegay. Not so much that Cornegay was going to hurt him in any way, but whether or not he would be able to keep things going and be able to do the things he needed to do. What I was very impressed with on Kobe Madison's part was his footwork. His footwork was fantastic. Very quick. And he landed a lot of punches to Cornegay's face primarily because of that footwork. And it was very impressive to see. So, Kobe Madison, I didn't think was going to knock him out, not because he didn't have any power, just because no one knocks out Lonnie Cornegay at a heavyweight. He is the new Marion Jackhammer Wilson, for those who remember that guy, who was never knocked out in his pro career. Well, Cornegay was never knocked out, has never been knocked out as a heavyweight. His only knockout was in a cruiserweight against Darnell Wilson, who knocked out everybody that time period when Wilson knocked out Cornegay that time. So Kobe Madison now 2-0. Lonnie Cornegay once again 1-13-3. Again, the surprise, and I'm not sure how big a surprise this was Devin Butcher out of Baltimore losing to Tennille Spider Goico. And again, I'm not sure how big a surprise this really is. Again, because Goico, every time he fights in Baltimore, he does very well, even in a loss against DeMar Nicholson. I thought he fought very well. And had that bout gone the distance, who knows? He did knock out Jeremy Trussell in the 6th round. And he really just wore Butcher down. Butcher had never gone 6 rounds before. But really, by the time the 3rd round came around, Butcher was gassed. He really was. He was gassed, and Goico continually put on the pressure. Butcher losing a point in the 6th round probably was the difference, but because 2 of the judges in the split decision saw for Goico 57-56, and the one judge, Paul Wallace, saw it about 57-56 for Butcher. It was Brent Bovell and Don Risher who saw it about for Goico 57-56. So again, it wasn't a major upset because Goico is capable of doing that. He's even his record now. He's 8-1, but again, as I said on the podcast, the matchmaker for this card, Brian Dillon, asked him a couple of times, do you want to fight this guy? Do you really want to fight this guy? Are you sure? Brian Dillon kept asking him, are you sure you want to fight this guy? They said yes, and this is what happened. So tough break for Devin Butcher. He'll bounce back, but it was still just a tough fight all the way around. Also, James Too Slick Early winning a 4-round unanimous decision over Taisha Ferguson. He used his slickness. Taisha Ferguson, by the way, out of Danville, Virginia. Early out of Seat Pleasant, Maryland. Early was too slick for Ferguson. He combined great movement, solid shots, and gained a shutout win, 40-36 on all cards. Early now 2-0. Ferguson now 0-6. And also we had one other battle on the card. Cody Crowley winning a 6-round unanimous decision over very durable Corey McCants out of Douglasville, Georgia. Crowley 8-0, 5 KOs. McCants 2-13-2. Now, we won't go over the entire card on Friday, as we did this one. I just think this card is right now the clubhouse leader for card of the year. But I do want to mention a couple of things about the Friday, May 13th card in DC. And a lot of people are making conversation not only about whether or not Dusty Harrison won or lost the bout, but also the situation involving the commission. And I want to focus on that primarily. But again, as I've said many times before, as Juan and I said on the post-fight after the show Friday night, we both believe Dusty Harrison did not win that bout. Mike Dallas just basically outgunned him. I thought Dusty was very slow. He couldn't get off very well. It was not a good performance at all. I think it was a performance, and I'm wondering if it's because he just didn't fight well, or just something we didn't expect the way he looked. He changed trainers. When you change trainers, you end up sometimes you're supposed to be the common thought is to add to the situation. But in this case, they didn't. They detracted. And they tried to do some things that right now it doesn't look like Harrison is capable of doing. And it just, my personal opinion, that's why I think he lost the bout. It was just not a good performance at all. Not a good performance at all for Dusty Harrison. But he gets the draw and remains undefeated. And other bouts on the card, the Thomas Snow bout. You wonder where Thomas Snow would have been if he had not hurt his arm in the course of the bout. Because he seemed like he was coming on, but just couldn't get the power going. He had a great 7th round, and that was pretty much it. But again, Thomas Snow had a tough break. I think the injuries may have had something to do with that bout. And we knew, in all honesty, Carlos Black was not ready for Damani Rock in that situation. Now, as far as the commission's concerned, and again, people are saying, DC boxing is corrupt, and Malik Wali was in the tank for Dusty Harrison, and the judges were in the tank for Dusty Harrison. I mean, stupid. Just stop. It's ridiculous. And here's why it's ridiculous. What people fail to realize, and people, I think, don't know, that's why I'm going through this now. The commission, with the exception of Skip Brown, and Skip Brown's only been in his position as deputy commissioner maybe a little more than a year, if that, because he took over for Alfred Grant, who passed away. So Skip, although he's been with the commission and has worked alongside, really was in a secondary role early on. Okay. But the rest of the commission is brand spanking new. And that's what people have to realize. All these situations that have happened between the misjudging of Lloyd Scaife, all the way through this bout here, the Dusty Hernandez Harrison and Mike Dallas bout, have been with people who have been a part of this commission for a long time. And that does not include the actual chair of this commission, Adam Weirs, and the 2 commissioners, Kim Lockett and Andrew Huff. This is new. And when they walked into those positions, I think little did they realize they're going to walk into a serious hornet's nest in the sense that I have not seen 4 cards in one location in this city, in this area, in that short a time frame ever in my 33 years, almost 33 years now of doing this. 4 locations, 4 bouts, 4 cards. Let's try it again. 4 cards, 1 location, 4 different television networks, and a grand total of 3 world title bouts. That doesn't happen, folks, except in the busiest of places. That's Las Vegas territory. That's not even New York territory. That's not even California territory. And it may not even be Nevada territory anymore. But between March 5th and May 13th, the DC Army hosted 4 cards televised by 4 different networks that included 3 world title bouts. The Jesse Vargas and Al Ali fight and the 2 super middleweight bouts on April 30th. Would have been 5 if Ortiz Thompson would have still been for the interim WBA heavyweight title, and if Adrian Broner would have made weight against Ashley Theophane. It would have been 5. And the commission had only been in existence since the first of this year, the current incarnation of this commission. We don't know because, again, not until they came on the commission did we know whether or not they knew anything about boxing. And when I say that, I mean whether or not they were involved with boxing in any way prior to being on the commission. My guess is minimal at best. Okay? Minimal at best. I'm honored to say that some of the information they got from a lot of the boxers came from this very podcast and my blog. I'm very honored to say that. When I first met them, they said, well, we know you. You're the man as far as getting the information out, and I appreciate that with all my heart. I really do. But they don't have quote unquote boxing people on this commission yet. It depends how long they stay in the commission, whether or not they become boxing people. See, Scotty Irving, for example, who I love dearly, became a boxing guy. He made his money from the construction area, and when he got put on the commission, I don't think he had a whole lot of boxing, quote unquote, experience, except for being a fan, which helps considerably. And it may help Weers, Lockett, and Huff, too. Plus, Irving was taking over from a guy who had been there for a long time, the longest tenured commissioner, and that was the late Arnold McKnight. But what I love about this commission thus far, and again, they had big shoes to fill, because I think Scotty Irving did an outstanding job as head of the Boxing Wrestling Commission. And I take that back. He did not follow McKnight right away. He followed Jason Turner, who really didn't do a whole lot, quite frankly. So he didn't have to follow. Jason Turner followed Arnold McKnight right away. And then Irving followed him and did an outstanding job, as I said. What I like about this new commission is that they have become proactive. And they jumped right on the whole situation with Lloyd Scaife and his judging of the Thompson-Ortiz fight, which was ridiculous. Just uncalled for. I mean, to give Thompson a round, he got knocked down. That was just ridiculous. And he's retired. He comes to the fights. I saw him at the May 13th card. So he still comes to the fights, but he does not need to be judging at ringside anymore. And he knows that. And that's why he retired. I'm sure they'll be proactive with any controversy surrounding Malik Waleed going forward in this situation. Now, Malik Waleed missed the low blow that caused the Dallas knockdown. He probably should have taken the point away from Dusty Harrison after the hit behind the head. Should have done that. But again, this is the same Malik Waleed who not only did the title bout between DeGale and Medina, he was also the third man in the ring when Luis Ortiz knocked out Tony Thompson. Okay. So to say this commission is corrupt, I think is just ridiculous. Quite frankly, they haven't had time to be corrupt. I mean, they haven't been there long enough. They haven't been a part of this system. And I think they need to give them a little bit of time. Okay. What may have to happen, maybe, is to get some new people in the commission, in as part of the judging and refereeing this position. And again, most of the time, our judges and referees, I think, do an outstanding job. They need some new people to come behind them to take over. Not that they should leave. I'm not saying any of them should leave. Tammy Jenkins, who I believe is supervisor of the judges, she shouldn't leave. She's been doing this a long time and doing it well. But they do need some consistency in the commission. I mean, Irving was there about 5 or 6 years, which is good. But if you look at what Maryland does and what Virginia does, they hardly have any turnaround. Patrick Piniella has been the executive director of this commission as long as I've been doing this. I've known Pat Piniella, I'd say close to 30 years. And he's been there. He was there before I got there. Okay. Same Virginia. David Holland and Tracy Fagan have been there a long time. I've known them at least 10 years. When I first started doing this, Doug Beavers, the late Doug Beavers, was the commissioner. And so that goes back to the late 80s, early 90s. Beavers got into some problems, taken out of that position, and then subsequently passed away. And Holland has taken over ever since, has been there, I know, a good 10, 12 years. So there's consistency there. There's consistency in Maryland. There's not a whole lot of consistency in D.C. to this day. And, 5 years, Arnold McKnight was there for more than 10 years. That's what this commission needs. They need somebody who's going to be there for the long haul. And whoever is the mayor after Bowser, or Bowser gets second term, needs to keep this group especially in place. Because more big bouts are going to come DC's way, regardless of what people think about this commission. We've got the boxers here. We've got the fans here. And what they need to do is give some of our boxers some opportunities. And again, if you want to bring in out-of-town people, so be it. You want to bring in Steve Smoger? No problem with that. You want to bring in a Bill Clancy? No problem with that. You want to bring in Tony Weeks and Kenny Bayless and all these out-of-town guys, especially for world title bouts? No problem with that whatsoever. Okay? No problem with that whatsoever. But they need to keep this commission in place, keep them working with the folks at Event DC, and keep making great bouts happen here in the area. They've got the connection with Mayweather Promotions. You've got King's Promotions, Marshall Kaufman coming in, doing bouts here. I just think it's bogus to say that commission is corrupt at this stage. Some new blood may need to go in there. And I think the fact that we have newer blood on the commission will help. And I think that's where it is. So I think this is not going to harm DC boxing anywhere, in any way, shape, or form. It will not harm Beltway boxing. Because as long as we have the boxers that are doing the job and that the fans want to see, the promoters will look at this area and say, we got to bring bouts here because they will sell. And overall, we did very well. We had 2 4,000 houses, one 2,600 house that was scaled down. The armory was scaled down for the Dusty Harrison card. And we had, of course, the big 8,000 seat house for Broner Theophane. So we did tremendously well attendance-wise in the area. Did pretty well ratings-wise from what I heard for some of the bouts. The Broner Theophane card was the highest rated boxing broadcast ever on Spike TV. And the HBO and Showtime bouts did well also, and I haven't heard about the BET bouts yet. But people are coming to see us. They're watching us. And we do have to really kind of shape up our game as far as the refereeing and judging is concerned. I have no problem saying that either. But to say the commission is corrupt is just ridiculous, in my personal opinion. So that's the way I see it. Don't forget, we'll be live from the ABC Sports Complex, Springfield, Virginia, for the Boxing on the Beltway Google app for Android broadcast on Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio.com, and on YouTube. Now, I need to say this for the YouTube folks. If YouTube folks, you're listening to me, please understand what I'm saying. Because a number of the live broadcasts that have been on YouTube have been muted. And the reason why they've been muted is because the DJs at the event that we have no control of. I don't know who's going to DJ an event, and I don't know what music they're going to play. But because they're playing music that is copywritten, YouTube is muting that. Now, again, this is in a public location. I'm not playing this music on the podcast itself. I'm not doing that. It is being played on the podcast over the PA system by a DJ that I did not hire. So they need to understand that I have no control over what the DJ is playing. So please, YouTube, understand that it is not done intentionally. I don't know what songs they're going to play. And I tell you, some of the songs they played in Timonium, not the DJ, but some of the concert situations. Let me apologize for that as well, because I didn't know who they were. And my only complaint about the card in Timonium last Saturday was that you've got to get some rappers. If you're going to get rappers, make sure they play clean versions of their shows, of their songs, because you don't know who's out there. And there are kids out there, and kids may be listening to this podcast, listen to the live broadcast, and we don't need to hear it. And plus, you couldn't understand the word they said anyway, but except for the curse words. And it was ugly. It was ugly all the way around. They really need to really kind of think about that. But again, YouTube, please. I have no control what music goes on there. Okay, I'm there doing a boxing podcast. I have no control over the music, so please, if you don't mind, please stop muting the broadcast on YouTube. I do appreciate that. That'll do it for another edition of Boxing on Beltway News and Notes. And don't forget, once again, we're live from the ABC Sports Complex, 6:55 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, May 21st, for the Left Hook Promotions card featuring Andrew the Do-Man Farmer. Hope to see you there. If not, hope to have you listen right here on the Boxing on Beltway Google app for Android. Until then, I'm Gary Digital Williams. Thanks for listening, everybody. And always remember to keep supporting the best boxing in the world, the boxing along the Beltway. Take care.